Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuy señoronas of the world. We are at part 3 of the Andrea Yates case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. Against the medical advice that Andrea should not be left alone, on the morning of June 20th, 2001, Rusty left for work. Rusty had to work. He had a large family. Rusty and Andrea, plus their 5 children, put them down for a party of 7. Someone had to work and provide for them. Plus, he had arranged for his mother, Dora Yates, to arrive within an hour after he left. Andrea took advantage of that small window of time she had left alone. Andrea knew she couldn't hurt her kids in front of Rusty. He would probably make her stop. Andrea didn't want anyone to stand in her way of her plan. But Andrea's world was different from ours in that she believed George W. Bush was still the governor of Texas, and that if she killed her children, they would instantly go to eternal paradise. In reality, George W. was actually the president of America, and Rick Perry was the governor of Texas at the time. Andrea filled the bathtub of water and one by one killed her not 1, not 2, not 3, but her 5 children. The order of the killings were as follows: Paul, Luke, John, and Mary. The homicide detectives had a 90-minute chilling recorded tape confession of the 37-year-old Andrea Yates, giving them an account of how she drowned all of her children. She said that as she was drowning, 6-month-old Mary, her 7-year-old Noah, saw what she was doing and asked his mother, what's wrong with Mary? Although he was just 7, he was able to put 2 and 2 together and realize that his mom was a monster. He ran for his life, and Andrea gave chase after Noah through the entire house until she captured him and carried him while he was kicking and screaming to the bathtub and unalived him next to his dead baby sister Mary. After giving her children their death bath, she carried each of them to their master bedroom, placed them on the bed, and covered them with a bedsheet. There is no evidence that any of the Yates children were drugged. Andrea called 911 saying that she needed an officer but refused to provide the reason, saying that it was time. After she hung up with the dispatcher, she called Rusty and told him to come home right away. When police arrived at the scene, the dog was locked up. Rusty admitted that this was unusual. After her arrest, the Harris County District Attorney Charles, aka Chuck Rosenthal Jr., reasoned that 3 months of the consistent taking of an antipsychotic medication and treatment at the jail's psychiatric unit was enough time for Andrea to be competent to stand trial. These unthinkable crimes occurred in Texas. Mr. Rosenthal was asking for the death penalty. They clarified to the jury that the question was whether Andrea Yates was rational and in her right mind today, and not whether she was rational at the time of the crimes. After what was called an unusually long competency hearing, and after 8.5 hours of deliberation, the jury panel unanimously voted her competent to stand trial. During her trial, Andrea's bestie testified that after the birth of her 4th son, Luke, Andrea had turned into a total zombie who stared blankly into space and was unable to complete a sentence. The defense's case relied on the fact that in the weeks leading up to the killings, her psychiatrist had started weaning her off Haldol, which is an antipsychotic medication. However, the prosecution hired psychiatric expert Dr. Michael Wellner, who testified that Andrea had carried out an efficient and well-planned and thought-out murder. Dr. Wellner believed that she knew what she was doing was wrong due to her keeping the plan to herself and did not share the details of her psychosis until she had committed the murders. The prosecution explained that Andrea had drowned her own children because she wanted to escape the predicament that she and her husband put themselves in of the overwhelming stress that stemmed from raising and homeschooling their young children. Andrea's defense team hired forensic psychiatrist expert Dr. Philip Resnick, who testified that Andrea truly believed that killing her children was the right thing to do because Satan had taken over her body and the children were going to be possessed by the devil himself next. Dr. Resnick said that she theorized that if she killed her innocent children, they would go to heaven. As such, she would have defeated Satan. Dr. Resnick diagnosed Andrea with schizoaffective disorder and severe depression with schizophrenic symptoms. The jurors at Andrea's first trial deliberated for less than 4 hours before coming back with a guilty verdict. On March 18, 2002, 37-year-old Andrea Yates was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 40 years. Rusty stuck beside his killer of a wife and kept paying for their defense attorneys to file an appeal for her conviction immediately. At Andrea's first trial, the prosecution hired forensic psychiatrist expert Dr. Park Dietz, and he testified that a Law and Order episode that displayed a woman who drowned her children in a bathtub and got away with it by pleading insanity was Andrea's inspiration to her own killings. Turns out there was no such episode. It didn't exist at the time, and this error was the basis of the appeal for a new trial, and it worked. Andrea was granted a new trial in 2005. Prior to her second trial, she told Dr. Wellner that she waited for Rusty to leave for work because she knew he would prevent her from harming the children. The second Texas jury panel of 6 men and 6 women deliberated for 13 hours in the span of 3 days and decided that she was insane when she drowned her own children. On July 26, 2006, the jury heard the news that the jury found that the court heard the news that the jury found Andrea Yates not guilty by reason of insanity. District Judge Belinda Hill sentenced her to be committed to the North Texas State Hospital in Vernon, a high-security mental institution. Outside the courthouse, Rusty Yates said now that the trial was over and the gag order had been lifted, he was free to tell reporters that it was a miracle. How Andrea Yates was only charged with the deaths of Noah, John, and Mary is beyond me. In January of 2007, Andrea was moved to Kerrville State Hospital, a low-security institution. In 2041, at the age of 77, this real-life Llorona named Andrea Yates will be eligible for parole. Seeing that his wife was not coming home anytime soon, Rusty filed for divorce in August of 2004. Their divorce was finalized on March 17, 2005, and on March 25, 2006, he married Laura Arnold. They had 1 son together, and Laura filed for divorce in 2015. That was Andrea motherfucking Yates, y'all. We've reached the end of today's episode of Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. Thank you so much for coming down the rabbit hole where I currently live. Stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure to follow me on all socials with the same handle. If you have any comments, questions, etc., I would love to hear from you. Call me, beat me at yayareahousewife@gmail.com. And yes, that's yay area with the Y, like E40 said. I'll see you chismosas y chismosos in the next episode. Adios.